Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I chat with business owners and leaders about marketing missteps, mishaps, and things that didn't go quite as planned. But most importantly, we share the lessons learned with all of you, our listeners. I am your host. I'm Christy Mitchell. I am a marketing strategist and consultant. I work with service-based business owners who have relied on referrals and word of mouth to build their business. And they know in order to reach their big business goals, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am super excited to welcome Hayden Orme to the show. Hayden is the founder of Handled by Hayden and Company, as well as a speaker, two-time international best-selling author, award-winning leader, and a 50-ton master merchant mariner captain. She has a top-notch team of executive assistants, all with years of extensive experience providing business elevation and optimization services to small business owners and C-suite leaders in a variety of industries. Hayden brings with her more than 13 years of experience supporting top executives in major health and tech companies, including Bright Cove, Novartis, and McKesson. Before starting HBH and Company, today she focuses on giving her clients more time and freedom so they can efficiently advance their business and mission instead of drowning in their inboxes, calendars, and torturous daily tasks. She believes that burnout is not a status symbol and leaders do not need to suffer to succeed. Rather, with the right strategic high-touch support, it is possible to change the culture and create sustainable growth and holistic success as empowered leaders in both life and business. Hayden, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
I loved reading your bio, I just have to say. You and I have talked about this. I love the whole nautical theme of your business. I'm all about it. I did not know that you had a captain certification, but I shouldn't be surprised by this news.
Yes, that was something sort of, I say past life, but I used to work on boats full time and I was a professional delivery crew and I coached and ran a sailing school for a while. And so sailing is a passion of mine and that shines through in my marketing a little bit.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm all for it. You can't really, I have my anchor that's over on my side of the wall and my whole like watery theme. So yeah, we instantly hit it off. I love to always tell our listeners how I know my guests. So Jenny Belanger gets a shout out for introducing us. And yeah, we had the opportunity to work together a little bit last year on some marketing planning for your business. So it was a sincere pleasure to work with you and learn more about the work that you do, the clients you love to serve. And when we talked about you coming on the show, you mentioned that you've kind of had, as most business owners do, I think, their own kind of like history with marketing, right? So you mentioned you had worked with a brand strategist a while ago, had a great experience, and then you ended up, wanting to outsource some of your marketing more recently. And it sounds like you've had, unfortunately, a few false starts in being able to find someone who really represented you and your brand the way you wanted to be.
Yeah, so the authentic branding strategist I worked with, Catherine Morales, actually, she was phenomenal. And we hit it off right away. I felt like she was really pivotal. I did a complete rebrand and relaunch of my business in beginning of 2022, I think. And, my business had grown and I didn't feel like I was showing up in the online space in a way that really reflected the growth of my business. And so working with her, she really helped me identify my authentic brand and how my unique differentiators can shine through in my messaging and how that is really crucial in your marketing to attract, as she calls it, your right someones, which I love that term. And it's so true. I mean, when I really started showing up more authentically online, that, in my authentic way, it really attracted the people that I love to work with and it resonated with the right people. And I think that's something that's just, my background is not in marketing. So having worked with other agencies, one thing I found to really ring true is that there's not a cookie cutter approach for marketing, right? There's tips and tricks and algorithms and all this stuff, but it doesn't necessarily work the same for everybody. And one of the things that really resonated working with you is I remember coming to you and saying, like, Christy, I don't know. I keep being told I have to have all these Black Friday sales, and that doesn't feel authentic for me. And I don't usually discount my services. My pricing is very intentional. And you said, then, if that doesn't feel authentic for you, then you don't have to do it. And instead I chose to put a gratitude post around Black Friday, and that felt more aligned. And so, yeah, when I've really resonated and had that strong connection with people, it's been in a way that's very supportive of also my core values shining through. I think that's really kind of a key component. Like, I need to show up authentically online. My core values have to be reflected in my marketing and how I'm presenting myself. It's my name on the door, right? And my business and our services. And so it's sort of, it goes with my term. I use the right support a lot, it's not a cookie cutter approach for everybody. It's really what is the right support for you as an individual leader and your business.
There are so many things I want to pull out from this conversation so far. Okay, so I want to go back to something earlier that you said about the authentic branding strategist that you worked with, because I just want to take a pause and draw attention to this process that you went through, because I just wanted to also share that I have done the same thing. I have hired branding people, and I like to be upfront about that, because I think a lot of times when people outside the marketing world think about marketing, it's like, oh, you know marketing, like you could do all the things. Right. And there's there's so many different facets to marketing. There's so many different areas of expertise. And so even I, as a marketing strategist, have hired outside people to help me with my own branding. So I worked with a branding person a number of years ago. I worked with a clarity coach to help me kind of like get back to basics. Like how do I talk about myself and what I do? Because I know that I have a huge impact for my clients, and I know I'm super passionate about it, but how do I talk about it in a way that really helps capture the essence of that? And I always go back to, I don't know if he gets full credit, but I just remember reading it in Donald Miller's Story Brand. Like, you can't read the label from inside the bottle. None of us can, no matter what type of business you're in. And so getting that outside help from a branding perspective can just be so instrumental. And as you said, it helps you show up in a way that now you are attracting those ideal clients that you love working with. And we all went into business to, I think, enjoy the work that we're doing, right? And enjoy the clients that we're serving. So I just wanted to call a little attention to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's like that saying, what is it? You can't see the wood for the trees. When you're in it and you're looking at the same thing every day, and it's really hard to step back and have a bird's eye view. And I can do that for my clients easily. That's something I'm really great at, but sometimes it's hard when you're in your own business every day and things start to dilute because you're looking at the same messaging and you're like, I need a fresh perspective. And so I'm a huge proponent of bringing in experts, when needed, and they are often needed at certain points. I mean, it's inevitable. If you're a business owner, you're going to need some experts. And so, having that, I mean, we worked together initially in your marketing power hour, and there was just so much value in that. And I remember leaving that and saying to my team, oh my gosh, I have this like long list of things that I can actually implement myself relatively quickly. And I started to see traction right away. I mean, little tips and tricks you gave me for even scheduling and optimizing my channels and things I didn't even know about Google. And so all these just little things. And I think that's something that can feel overwhelming when you're exploring bringing in help in whatever capacity. It's like, oh my gosh, it has to be this big undertaking or a big engagement or a big investment. And it can be sometimes, but I got so much value out of that marketing power hour. And there were things that I could do that didn't take up a lot of my time that had an ROI for me. And so sometimes it's just like finding the right starting point and the right person to start with.
Well, I appreciate all of your kind words. I'm so glad that 1 hour was time well spent and you've already seen the ROI on it. I also want to go back to I actually had goosebumps when you were talking about the Black Friday thing. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting because it actually sparked, I created a video and a blog. I talked about it in my marketing support group, all stemming from that conversation that we had back around the holiday time, because I feel so passionately that we should not be marketing in ways that don't feel authentic to us. And so I was so thankful to have that opportunity to have that conversation with you. And I'm glad you were able to find something that felt aligned to you and your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we clicked right away, but I felt so seen, and I was like, oh, I made the right choice coming to you with this, especially because I had reached out to other people, in my network, and they're like, well, you really need to post on Black Friday. And it wasn't even about posting. It was, you really need to have an offer. And I'm thinking, well, I think of Black Friday things, you're thinking about, oh, it's a steep discount, right? It's a time of year to get deals. And my services aren't necessarily aligned with that way of thinking. And it didn't feel good for me to show up that way. And I don't know, I've always had kind of a love-hate relationship with Black Friday because, I get, I like a deal as much as the next person. But sometimes it feels like you're just being fire hosed with stuff online. And I chose to draft a post that we looked at together. I think it was more like, instead of going out and spending the day after, celebrating being thankful and grateful, how about you reinvest in yourself and maybe make a plate of leftovers, curl up on the couch, rest, like reinvest in yourself instead of, exhaustively pushing through the lines at the store or something. And it was just more about, I'm a huge proponent of like reinvesting in yourself. I think my recent blog article was, or a post I did was, how rest and pausing is a power move as a leader. And so I am a big proponent of that and have reaped the benefits at certain times. Even taking like 3 or 4 days off, I come back feeling more abundant. I have creative energy again. And it just, so that was kind of the focus of my Black Friday post instead of sell.
Yes. Yeah. And so, on this show, I love to pull out lessons learned for everyone listening. And I think that this is a really key thing. You said you were in kind of circles where everyone's like, well, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I think that that is so relatable to all business owners out there, regardless of if you're in a mastermind group or you just have a local community of business owners or whatever kind of groups you're in. It can very easily feel like everyone is saying I need to do this thing and I don't want to. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just not listen to my gut and do what everyone else is telling me? So I guess, obviously hindsight's 2020, and you and I were working together at that exact time, so it worked out well. But had you not, what advice would you give to a business owner in that space if they didn't have an expert to go to and kind of get that reassurance of how they wanted to handle it?
I would say always trust your gut. Really, how many people can say, oh, my gut's usually wrong, right? Like your gut's usually right. And I think we've all learned the hard way in life when you don't listen to your gut. And someone said to me once, I was having a challenge around my business and I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, well, why wouldn't you just bet on yourself? Has that ever gone wrong? And that resonated. And it's like, just trust your gut, listen to yourself. And sometimes following the crowd isn't always the best thing. And again, showing up authentically in a way that's aligned with your core values in business, you're always going to feel proud of showing up like that. And it also, again, is a differentiator, right? So if you're showing up just like everybody else, how are you different from everybody else? Right?
Yeah.
And so if you're showing up differently, you're going to be attracting those people, again, that align with your core values. And chances are those are the people you want to work with anyways.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that point, Hayden. That is that's gold right there. And it makes me think of the opposite too, right? Like, so let's say you were a business owner and you caved to all this pressure, like, all right, I got to do a Black Friday sale. And so you steeply discount your services. And then you attract all these people who want a low price. And that's not aligned for you and your business and what you're offering. So I think, kind of thinking through what those repercussions could be if you don't follow your gut is could be a helpful exercise.
And how does that impact the trajectory of your business too? I mean, if you're discounting your services at certain points in the year, are you going to be attracting the right business throughout the rest of the year? Because people are probably going to think, oh, I'll hang on, even if I'm white knuckling it, I'll hang on till the next sale because I don't want to pay full price. So you undermine the value of your services. And excuse me. And if you are scaling your business in a way that isn't aligned for you as a leader, that's going to erode your core satisfaction over time. And potentially even, as you scale, you may have a broader client base that isn't really ideal and there's a rub there.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of scaling slower and more intentionally to make sure that you are happy with how things are going and have the right people in your business.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Oh, we're already covering so much great content here in this conversation, Hayden. I also want to make sure that we talk about your not so great experiences that you have had going out and trying to find people to execute your marketing and really being left feeling like this isn't right.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with a few different people over the years, and it didn't end up being an ideal experience. Again, sort of that authenticity rub. It was, I think there's so many different titles in the marketing world, like social media manager, and right, like you kind of learn the hard way what the scope and experience level of certain people are. And I'll say, there's a time and a place to invest in your business. And for lack of a better word, you get what you pay for. And certainly as a young business, I'm, budget conscious, early on, especially like, okay, well, I know I need to have marketing. So this is a sort of a budget option. And it might work for a little while because it's something new, you're showing up more, but in the long term, it was once I invested in the right people, it was different. And sometimes, when you're feeling like it's not right, and I was the one sort of constantly spell checking and rewriting, and it's frustrating to be paying for something that really isn't working and might even be incurring more work. Mm-hmm. And so it's worth investing in the right people, because in the long run, you pay more for not having the aligned team you need.
Yes. I feel like I've had a lot of similar discussions about this inside my marketing support group with business owners who have done this. Like, okay, I've outsourced, it didn't go well, I brought it back, I'm doing it myself, I really want to try outsourcing it again. How do I do it in a way, right? I think sometimes for business owners, right, a lot of us are high achievers. We have very high standards. We're very particular, especially about our brand and our content and these things. And so I think it can be this struggle to say, okay, am I being too picky and maybe I need to let some things go? Or are these hills I'm willing to die on? And like, I can't let go of this, and it needs to be to the standard I want it to, or I can't outsource it. So can you tell me a little bit more about kind of what, as you said, I know other business owners have been in the same experience to you, is like, okay, I outsource this, but then when I'm looking at it, I'm like, this isn't good enough. Like I need to edit these things. And so when was it kind of in that process? And again, I've talked to different business owners who have had different experiences where sometimes they can give the feedback and the feedback is taken and implemented and like going forward, it works out to be fine. And then in other instances, it sounds like this might have been for you, is like, I keep editing, I keep giving feedback, and it's not getting better. And this is taking more of my time, and it's not worth the investment that I'm making. So can you tell me more about kind of that experience, and when did you kind of realize, like, I've tried, this isn't working, I need to move on?
I think after trying a lot of different, providers, we were growing, and I realized, I'm a huge proponent of like, do the things as a leader that only you can do and have the right support in place to take care of the rest. And that's really where everything is optimized and humming. Mm-hmm. And so to do that, I have my assistant, I have my team, and outsourced my marketing, but I kept hitting these sort of major potholes, and it just wasn't, I was feeling like, well, if I'm paying for a service and my feedback is not really being heard, or this person might be good at what they do, but it's not necessarily the service that is working for me, then it's not working. So I don't want to be, it's an investment. And as small business owners, every dollar counts, right? We want to make sure if we're making an investment that we're seeing that ROI. And so bringing it back in-house was, and I did get some really helpful strategy support for a while before I started implementing again myself. And I decided, especially working with you, like, okay, posting less, but more intentionally is good. Again, in my industry, I'm not trying to sell a product or, so it's not an e-commerce. And I think it's really worth paying attention to how you feel, right? Oh, my cat somehow got in here. she's joining the call. And so I think it's really important to honor what feels aligned for you as a business owner. If you're paying for a service, it's okay if it's not working, right? It's like any relationship, not everyone's not for everybody. Yep. So you might have to shop around a little. And I think like any life experience, I don't necessarily have any regrets, because I actually learned a lot in each experience. And like, okay, I've decided that I'm not most aligned with someone who wants to post for every social media holiday out there, right? I don't need to be like Happy National Pizza Day, because that has nothing to do with my brand.
I was going to say happy National Taco Day. That was something.
Yeah. I mean, I love pizza and tacos, but I don't need to post about it for my business. So I think each one was a learning experience, and I also gained more skills and knowledge throughout each one, but it was part of the journey to realize that, okay, it's okay sometimes to bring something back in-house, or sort of slow it down and take a beat and listen to yourself and honor what feels good. Because if you're doing something over and over and it's not working, right? It's like that definition of insanity. You can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. So it's okay to try things out. And if they don't work, try something different. And just, not everyone is for everyone. And so finding the right people, the right support is important.
Yes. It's so interesting that we're having this conversation right now, because I was just having a conversation with a client of mine on a similar, she's been outsourcing her social media. And when we talked last week, she was like, my contract with them is up. Like, I'm on a month to month. Like, should I tell them to pause or keep going? And we were in the midst of like in-depth content strategy work. Yeah. And so I was like, honestly, I would say to pause it. Let's finish the content strategy work. And then then we can talk about, does it make sense to give this to them and see what they can do with it? Or do you want to kind of own it yourself for a little bit and see how that feels to create your own content? And so I think that I know that this is a common struggle for business owners. And to your point, is it working? Right. And that's what she really realized through, me doing my in-depth, like deep dive into all her stuff is like, she already kind of knew it coming to me. Right. Is like,
Yeah.
they've been executing, but I'm not seeing anything. Like I haven't gotten any clients that said they found me on LinkedIn. And so I think that's important, right? To pay attention to what's working, what's not, to have that ability to step back and say, okay, out of all these marketing things we've been doing, what's working, what's not. And maybe if you're not equipped to do that on your own, right, then it's time to bring in an expert and help get that clarity and focus on what you need to prioritize in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a key point too. Like, where do you show up online, and where are you putting your time and energy to create content? Because you might be posting 5 times a week on Facebook, but you've never gotten a client on Facebook. You have no engagement, and your people aren't on Facebook, right? And it depends on your business and your model and what you're selling, but LinkedIn really kind of is the platform these days. And so having a LinkedIn strategy is important. And I'm constantly learning new things about LinkedIn. You taught me a lot, and I made all these changes after our session. But I think it's okay to bring something back in-house. And I think timing, so I'm sort of forming this point in my mind, but timing is really important. And I hear a lot of shoulds, like I should have someone doing my marketing. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And there's no shoulds, right? If you're growing a business, you have to kind of figure out what works for you and what's the best fit. And for me, I was getting a lot of, you really need a blog, you really need a blog. And I wanted to have a blog, but actually the authentic branding strategist I worked with, she was like, don't do it if it feels like it's the thing that's going to tip the boat, right? If it's like the one thing that's just going to cause overwhelm and it's not feeling like the right timing, then don't do it yet. Do it when you can show up and you can have your consistent articles, and it's not this sort of cause of massive stress. And I was like, wow, that's actually really good advice, because I felt like I should have a blog. And I was hearing from a lot of people, why don't you have a blog? So I was feeling pressure, and I actually waited almost 2 years to launch my blog. And I felt really proud when I did. And I even wrote a whole article about how timing is everything. And if we keep comparing ourselves to what other people are doing in business, we're just like life. That's just not going to bring any happiness or really benefit. Yes, we can learn from other people's success and collaborate, but if it's like, oh, she's doing this, he's doing this, I should be doing it. That doesn't, again, it's that cookie cutter. It's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So I think, if I can say, like, to everyone listening, timing is important, and honor your capacity and bandwidth.
Yes.
You don't want to sink your ship by feeling you should be doing all these things. And then, you can do anything, but not everything. And so if you're trying to do everything at once, that's probably not going to have a good outcome.
Yes. I feel like this was such a good way to end our conversation too, because I feel like we're going full circle back to the Black Friday example that we talked about at the beginning of our conversation. Goes back to that, well, just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you need to do it. You need to trust your gut. You need to listen to yourself, and timing is everything. Yeah. I think those are amazing takeaways for our listeners today, Hayden. And I just want to thank you so much for your willingness to come on the show and share all of your wisdom and expertise and, experiences that you've had. If anyone listening to the show wants to connect with you, learn more about you and what you and your team do at Handled by Hayden, what is the best way for them to reach out?
Well, they can go to our website, handledbyhayden.co. Anyone, if you have any questions, you can always, I invite people to email me, hayden@handledbyhayden.co. You can also contact us through the website on our contact tab. The website has a resources tab. You can, blog, quiz, free resources to download. And, we have channels on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hayden, again for coming on. I appreciate it.